Welcome to Bendy. Join your two favorite transatlantic weirdos, Andy from Ireland and Beth from the USA, as we take you on a journey through every topic imaginable, with insight, vulnerability, and fart jokes, or in other words, the complete human experience.
Hello, and welcome to Bendy, a podcast about being flexible in all of the ways that means. Thanks for joining us. My name is Andy Young, and I'm one of your visualized, nostalgic hosts. Joining me as always is our other visualized and nostalgic host, Beth Martin. Beth, a pleasure as always. What's the crack?
Hi. That was a tongue twister.
Oh, I know. And I immediately was
times.
challenged. Yeah. Immediately I was challenged. I'm glad I did my vocal warm-ups once again.
Do you actually do vocal warm-ups?
No, I know. I mean, not for the podcast. I should, but like I do them if I'm going to sing and things like that. Yeah, a little bit. Like I'll massage my jawline. I will, do mouth wide. Exactly.
I just do like testing for the actual like recording of it. So I do like testing 1, 2, 3, and then I say like bad words, and then I listen to myself on repeat saying those bad words, and then I laugh.
And it gets you in the headspace you need to be in for this podcast.
Basically. So the crack. Well.
Yeah.
Now I'm mixing up crack and occurrence.
Oh, so crack is what's going on with you that you want to talk about. I can talk. Do you want me to talk about what my crack is?
No, I got it. I got it. I mixed it up in my notes, which I'm embarrassed about because this is episode 18. What the fuck, Beth? So my dog had surgery.
Okay. Wow, that's new. What?
She cracked her tooth.
Oh, you did tell me about this.
And so they weren't going to be able to get her in until like March. And so I took her in for a little doggy haircut the other day, and they were like, you were just the person we want to talk to because we have an opening tomorrow.
Nice.
For her to get her tooth extraction and tooth cleaning. And I was like, cool. So so she is in recovery. She had her, I guess dogs have like chewing teeth, kind of like we do. It's not a molar, but it's like, it's bigger and it has ridges. And I don't know what she chewed into. She cracked the tooth. So they had to extract it, pull it out. And she had like sutures and she has no dog toys. She hasn't been able to go for a walk for like four days. And we have to wait like 5 for her to but I think I might take her out today. Because she's so sick. And then she can only eat wet food, which she's loving because she eats wet food like 3 times a day instead of like the dry gruel that I normally give her. But she's just so fucking bored because I didn't really realize like how much she plays with her doggy toys.
Oh yeah,
because they're always they're all over the house, and I'm always like picking them up, and so there's nothing to pick up, and you can tell that she's just kind of like, what am I like? She keeps like asking him to go outside, and like I let her outside, and she just kind of like stands there and like looks around, and it's just kind of like, what am I supposed to be doing right now? So
I guess I'll come back in. Yeah.
I guess I'll come back in, and then I want to go back out again, and then back in and out and in and out. So, so yeah, that's happening, and then. Mike has the dreaded man cold. I know. So I think he'll make it.
I hope so.
So I've implemented the Theraflu tactic and the empathy tactic and thermometer checks just to make him feel
that he's getting the care.
He's being taken seriously.
He's getting the care level he needs for this sort of it's a very serious
Yes.
situation. Yes.
It's true.
Absolutely.
It's true.
Good.
So, yep.
I'm glad you're taking this seriously.
Thank you. I am very, very seriously. So, what's the crack with you?
So what's the crack with me? So the we are pretty close to associating the choir. We have a constitution put together now, which is exciting.
What does that mean?
So it is a set of rules, essentially.
Okay.
So basically, and again, this is all...
like a mission statement, or
kind of, but also kind of like
Constitution means something different here.
I think it's, I know exactly what you mean, and I don't think it's too dissimilar, because it is a set of rules that, like, so basically, you know, we have to have meetings every now and again. In order for us to form, we must have certain rules that are filled. So it's got things that are, you know, what might cause the dissolution of the group, what might cause it, you know, and those sorts of things in there. Essentially, the partner that I work with on this, got a template, and she kind of changed it for our needs, basically, you know.
That's so great. I was gonna say I have a template for like a board.
It's that would be like, and that's exactly what we got, something like that, and it's been great. So that's exciting. I also saw I went to see The Beekeeper last night, and it was
how was it?
I enjoyed it, but like
it's John Statham, right?
Statham, yeah. So like
we call him the guy because he's in everything. Mike's like, everything. You know, the guy's in it.
Yeah, the guy.
And I'm like, oh, the guy, yeah.
I came out of, I described it to my friend as the most dad movie for dads ever, as in that, like, do you know like the show Reacher? It's basically like a lone badass comes in and sorts things out, where dads can kind of like imprint themselves in that and go, you know, I could have had a background in the CIA. I could have been. I could have
not. Yeah. Had I not been.
It could have been me. Feeding. Could have been me. And The Beekeeper is exactly that. It's just that, like, this guy, this sort of badass, you know, who is a beekeeper, who is actually this, like,
he's actually a beekeeper.
He is actually a beekeeper, but beekeeper means something else as well in this movie. But it's like, I have never seen, and also, like, all the bad guys are like young, like, tech bros, and like they're talking about crypto, and they're on skateboards, and the guy does yoga and everything, which is very much a sort of thing dads would be like, bloody youth of today. You know, so it's the perfect enemy as well, you know. But it escalates to a point of ludicrousness. Like, I don't think a single character in it was developed at all. But I had a blast, you know. It was a very much, and even how it was shot, that sort of, you know, rich sort of like light was like very kind of an 80s sort of 90s cheesy action movie, you know, and it was fun. But like, I had no idea what to expect. I didn't know whether it was an action movie or what, and it was just such a, at first I just didn't understand the tone, and then it was like something really daft happened, and I was like, oh, okay, I get it. This is, yeah, okay, I'm in. I'm ready to rock. So I enjoyed that a lot.
We started Peaky Blinders.
Oh yeah,
finally.
I still haven't seen it.
Okay, it's good. I think it's worth a watch. It's also, it's like, I can't tell if it's like the Irish have come over to England and they're like,
yeah,
the IRA is involved, and there's a lot of like that kind of stuff.
I don't know, and I mean, like, what has put me off that show is that there's, in the sort of wake of its success, there was a Belfast bar that rebranded as Peaky Blinders, and the guys all dressed up like that, and I fucking hate that shit so much. And it put me off both that bar and the show itself, unfortunately. Gotcha. So, but I understand that, like, because some people have said, you know, like, I've heard recommendations from some people. I know that there's like a couple of seasons where Cillian Murphy took over, and
like directing.
Kelly, I think he ran the show for a couple of seasons.
Oh wow!
So like, he was involved with the story and stuff. He's awesome. He's the best.
He's really watchable.
And he has excellent taste in music. Like, every now and again on Radio 6, he does like a 2-hour show, and he just has great. Like, he was the one, I think I told you this before. You know that song, Old Note. Yes. The folk song. Yes. It was him that played it that really kind of connected with me.
Yeah. They're playing a lot of Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds.
Nice.
Who I like. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's great. That was where did we get onto?
We were talking about how you're doing, and you went to see The Beekeeper, and then I was like, I'm still watching things too.
Peaky Blinders, yes, that was it. Yeah, so I might do, but like I like the fact that each season is about, you know, 6 episodes long, which is manageable. It's whenever I see a show that's like 4 or 5 seasons and every season's like 20 episodes long, and I just don't have the stamina for that anymore at all.
No.
So yeah.
No.
So yeah.
Yeah, and it's nice to find a show that like Mike will watch.
Yes.
And not be like, I'm gonna, look at car parts on my iPad next to you.
Yeah. That is good.
Yeah.
So that's
I save murder for when I'm folding laundry.
That's smart. The murdery podcasts, yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Or documentaries about murder.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Yes. So, okay, do we want to talk about, do you have anything else to add?
No, that's the crack with me this week.
Okay, good crack. Good crack.
Good crack. It is. Good crack works, yeah.
Can I make a t-shirt that says, what's the crack?
Sure.
Okay. All right, so what's occurring?
Sure, yep, let's do it.
So, speaking of shirts, I just ordered so I'm a merchaholic right now. I'm making merchandise like there's no tomorrow. So we have bags with a turnip. We have shirts with a turnip. We have a tumbler with a turnip. And now I'm branching out beyond the turnip, and I'm trying to think of other funny things that people would like to wear. So
love it.
The store is open. Go to bendypodcast.com. Buy some stuff because I'm having fun with it, and my daughter's actually helping to design some of it as well. So she's 9. Yeah, it's great.
And she did our logo as well, which is amazing.
She did our logo. I know. What was your idea?
That's true, but she did a great job with it. She killed it. Mm-hmm. So I wonder long term, could we maybe get like turnip like pillows or like turnip stuffed toys or things like that?
I was thinking
it's probably a more elaborate project, but
yeah, but I was thinking like I would do 2 versions. I would do the fun, cute one that I made for the T-shirt, and then actual like the one based on the ones in the Smithsonian Museum.
Yes,
that are quite terrifying. And then someone else, a friend of mine, was like, "Check out what my mom made us make." Did we talk about this already? The apples, where you like carve a face in an apple, and then you let the apple like basically dry up and shrivel up, and it makes the most horrifying, grotesque.
Ooh, interesting.
Apple faces. I'll send it to you.
I can see that being.
Yeah, it's terrifying. Yeah. And I was just like, "What the hell? Like, why?" She was like, "I don't know, but I'm still scarred for life." And I was like, "Well, that's the whole point of parenting, right?"
Exactly.
So please check out our merch. Buy the merch, so that we can. This is like our little podcast baby, the little podcast that could, and I want to keep it rolling.
We want to be a handsome, strapping young
and I'm trying to learn how to sell on Facebook and Insta, but it fucking sucks. And just go to the website and make my life easier, everyone.
Please.
So we had a little video short go viral on YouTube about You've Got the Touch, You've Got the Power from Transformers.
Okay.
From a previous episode. And so someone mentioned that Dirk Diggler / Mark Wahlberg also has a connection to the Transformer movies.
Mm-hmm.
So, and so as well as Boogie Nights. So J-Star 9J 9PU. Thank you for that. He also threw out a gauntlet to connect Marvel movies to Boogie Nights using only awesome mixtapes.
Okay, interesting.
I was like, I know, which is impossible, but he's funny, or they're funny, whoever you are.
I like it.
J-Star.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. For the laugh. So that's what I've got for the crack.
Love it. What's occurring? So the thing that I wanted to bring up in terms of what's occurring this week was so Beth. And this is something like we've touched upon in terms of like, I'm always like, am I Irish? Am I Northern Irish? Am I whatever? But Beth sent me like a sort of graph or
It was a Venn diagram.
Venn diagram, thank you. That's the word I was looking for. Of how to categorize like both the United Kingdom, both Great Britain, both the British Isles. And it is a nightmare. So I think we should include that with this episode so people can kind of see. Just like for people who don't understand just how complex it actually is, because like, in Northern Ireland, you'd think, are we part of the United Kingdom? Nope. No, and even on our passports, my passport was here, the passport says United Kingdom and Northern Ireland, right? I know.
I sent it to you and I was like, is this accurate?
And
because
I was like,
it's
yep.
confusing as hell. And you were like, yes, no, this is why I'm always like hedging what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And it's like at the center of the Venn diagram is Northern Ireland.
Yeah, that's true. We are all over the shop. And like I was thinking, even looking at that, I was like, that's not even taking into account the Commonwealth as well, like the British Commonwealth, which is a whole other nightmare, like, you know. So yeah. So I mean, and the other thing about it is that I don't really, you know, particularly feel any strong association to any sort of nationality either, you know. But, you know, people like you to be identified, you know, thusly, so I can understand. But also for my own amusement, I will constantly change what I am nationality wise. So watch out.
Which Andy will you get today?
Which Andy will you get today? Which passport will he have on him at the time?
How many passports do you have?
2.
Huh.
Right? Pretty fancy, I know.
Fancy. And you're like, oh, it's just sitting on my desk.
Exactly. It's just like, whatever. Because it's sitting on my desk because I'll do an update on this whenever it happens. So my sister and I are taking my mum to Harry Potter World in February. Yeah.
Where? What country?
It's in England.
Oh, really?
Did
you go to the one here?
I don't think so. No. Like, here's the thing.
know.
I'm not like a big I don't mind Harry Potter. It's fine. I never read the books. I've seen a chunk of the movies, but like I was never big into it. But my sister and my mum are, and I was like, yeah, I'll go. Sure.
So disappointed in you.
My absolute favorite thing about Harry Potter, hands down, is telling Harry Potter fans what house I am, because they're always like, I've had to take a test.
You're
I'm Gryffindor. Yeah. And every time you tell people you're Gryffindor, they go, "Oh, of course you are," and it makes me very happy every time. Oh, of course you're Gryffindor. It's my favorite reaction to things.
I am also Gryffindor.
Yeah.
I know my Patronus.
Oh, you do you?
Yeah, you can like go to the website and take all these tests.
I've done that before. I forgot about that. Yeah. Okay.
I'm like a white. I'm like a Siberian house cat or something.
Yeah. I feel like mine was like, I have done it before. I know you mentioned it, and I feel like mine was a mink or something like that. It was some pretty, you know.
You were like, I want a stag, right?
Yeah. It was some
like
sort of
something.
like, I don't even need like a stag or a wolf or something like that, but like not something that is actual vermin, you know. Or no, maybe it's not. I don't want to say that in case I get in trouble.
I mean, I think a mink is like in the rodent family.
Yeah, I think so. So I think I'd rather not have a rat of the rat, variety. So, but maybe I'm just being picky. I should just embrace it.
And they were like, "That's it, Harry Potter. I'm done." Because
that's it. Yeah, you're dead to me because you've maligned me as such.
I worked as a teacher's assistant for 6 years, and that was like during the Harry Potter, like beginning of Harry Potter, and it was so fascinating to see. We would have kids, because part of my job was to like go to the library and like the little library at the school and like we reshelve all the books, and the number of kids that were excited to read this book series, and it went from like no one wanted to read books to like everyone wanted to read books, and we had to order copies. There weren't enough copies, and yeah, I have a lot of Harry Potter stories. That's its own topic.
We can do a Harry Potter episode. Like, hey, let's do that when I come back. We can have a Harry Potter episode. It's interesting.
So when are you going?
Like really soon, a couple of weeks, so we can get one of the books. Because it's like one of the top 10 best-selling books ever, like including the Bible, including Lord of the Rings, which is staggering. And I mean, like, I'm all in favour of things that just get people to read books, because I remember even like whenever 50 Shades of Grey was going through its thing, and everybody was like, "Oh, is this good? Oh, is it good that this is what people are reading?" It's like
just read it.
Let people read stuff. People are reading. That's good, you know. So like, who really cares what, you know? I mean, I don't really know the content. I don't really know the content of that book, so I'll be
reading Mein Kampf.
Yeah, I don't read Mein Kampf. Yeah, let's knock that in the head. But apart from that, it's mostly good. Like 99% of it's fine, I guess.
I'm not a Lord of the Rings fan.
My mom read them to me, which is, the more I think about it, it was such a task as a kid, you know. So I think I had an attachment to it that way, and she read The Hobbit to me and stuff. I think maybe she read The Hobbit to me, and I read Lord of the Rings, but that's why those books were really important to me, you know.
Yeah, I just shit all over that.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry.
No, I can still acknowledge that they're like, you know, it's a clunky read. It really is, and it's all over the map. But it's like, are you ready for a really controversial opinion? And this could segue into our movies. It's like, I'm a Star Wars fan, but I think the vast majority of Star Wars content's bad. You know,
it's the same story,
and to its detriment, because they're like, well, I guess this is what the fans want. And it's like,
they just keep building another Death Star.
Yes. Oh, don't.
And blowing up a planet. I mean,
yeah.
And now it's a family joke where we're like, something's happening, and they're building like a galactic da da da, and like we start inserting the word again into like whatever they're doing, as the credits are coming, or the intro credits are like sliding up the screen.
Because it was, I think, like, basically Palpatine being back was explained as like somehow he has returned, and it's like, that's the explanation we're getting somehow. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Anyway,
just blame the metaverse.
Anyway, this is the perfect segue into our topic of this week's podcast, which is the movies that made us. Isn't that what we're calling it?
That's what we're calling it. I love it. Movies that made us. Some of mine are weird.
I might have also, yeah, me too. I may have lifted that, but who knows? I feel like I've heard that somewhere before, but it's relevant to this, and it's relevant to the subject we're talking about, which is, which is the movies that we saw as like a kid or as teenagers that really kind of made an impact on us. You know, probably informed our tastes to this day. Mm-hmm. So, do you have any you want to lead off with, Beth, or anything you want to, like, maybe, do you have a memory of a movie, maybe the first movie you saw or anything like that?
Oh, I remember seeing Bambi in the movie theater crying and leaving.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it was when Bambi's mother died, and I was just like, what? And left crying. The same thing happened with Dances with Wolves. Once they shot the wolf and the horse, I was like, fuck this, and left.
It's interesting, like, and I think that's a really interesting thing in terms of like how movies have changed and how like sanitized and stuff they are. It's like when you can't show, you know, that sort of stuff to kids anymore, and it's like, well, why? And I mean, like, even though it was traumatizing, it did kind of prepare you for what's to come. But like, I feel like there was a time very much so when it was like, if a movie was a cartoon, it was like, oh, it's for kids then, and there was some with like really kind of like. So the one for me, Bambi, I remember seeing Bambi and being like, whoa. But the one that really sticks in my head is a movie called Watership Down.
I read the book, but I never saw the movie.
It was
really intense.
Yeah.
Very grown-up themes.
Very grown-up themes. Yeah, very, very grown-up themes.
But with rabbits.
Yes, exactly.
But with bunnies.
Yeah. So like it was that's the one that really stuck with me in terms of me going, whoa, what is this? And like, you know, really kind of like having an impact on me as a kid in that way.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any movies where you actually like were able to like go to the place that it was filmed, or like had some sort of like personal attachment?
Not so much, and like only in recent years, to my knowledge, have things like properly been filmed here, you know, with Game of Thrones and everything, and us having a proper film studio. So not really so much, no. Has that been your experience with something?
Yes. Okay. Thanks for asking, Andy.
Great.
So the Goonies.
Yes.
Uh-huh. I'm a Goonie. I know you're a Goonie. Mm-hmm. Like, I still think of myself as a Goonie, and I'm like 43 or 44 years old. Mm-hmm. And I'm proud of it. I wear it like, I don't know, a badge
of honor
on my heart.
Sure.
Uh-huh. But it was filmed in Oregon.
Oh,
in
wow.
this little town called Astoria. And I should have taken you there because you can actually, the Goonies house is still there.
Is it far from
It's like
Portland?
no, it's like maybe like hour and a half.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And obviously, like some of it was filmed on like this part of the beach, some of it was filmed on like Cannon Beach versus Astoria, like Haystack Rock.
Mm-hmm.
They're 2 hours drive apart, but the majority of it was filmed, in this little town of Astoria, and it's so awesome to see, like, and I remember like you're allowed to walk up to the Goonies house. Someone actually lives there, and it's up for sale every so often, and someone buys it, and like you buy the house knowing that you're gonna get all these Goonies fans that are like gonna come up and like now take selfies. But yeah, the house is still there, and the bank is still there, and
that's nuts.
Yeah,
it's
the
quite
historical society where his dad worked is still there. It's all still there.
That's nice. Like, yeah. Because I think I've heard the name when you said Astoria. It sounded familiar. So yeah, I guess the town itself is quite famous. I think I'm almost certain I've like even like there was a podcast I listened to a while ago called I Was There Too, and it was the guy interviewed like background extras in films, prominent background extras in films. And I feel like they may have touched on that because a lot of this sounds quite familiar.
They filmed a lot of movies there. Kindergarten Cop was filmed there. Okay. Into the Wild was filmed there. I mean, I could go on and on. It's just, it's kind of like every town on the beach, on the coast, right?
Yeah. So it's useful, fill in for a lot of things. It's interesting, that you talk about that because I'm going to talk about a recent film where that happened with me, which was I went to see Transformers: Rise of the Beasts last year. Forgive me whoever's listening. I went to see it because I had a free movie pass and I was just like whatever, and it was not great, but it was fine. But
was Mark Wahlberg in it?
No, this is a reset basically back to the 80s. So it's like there was the Bumblebee movie with Haley Steinfeld, and it's kind of tying it all back then. So it's like set in the past. So it's like the Transformers are first on Earth or whatever. But
do they do that? You know what I hate about the Transformer movies is the speed at which they transform, as opposed to the speed at which they transformed when we were kids.
Sure.
And you had the toy in front of you, or like the cartoon where they were like ka-chunk, 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 right? I want more ka-chunk.
That's a good question. It does feel more like the toys this time round.
Okay.
So,
all right.
It was better than a lot of the mainline Transformer movies I've seen, but that's not saying much because most of them were pretty terrible, I think. But in this movie, they were in Cusco, which is where I was dropped in Peru. And there's the big parade in the square, which I took a photo of when it was empty. And near the end, there's like a bit of a chase where like I think Optimus Prime is being chased or is chasing, who knows. And they go up this street, and at the top of that street was where the hostel that I was staying in was, which is nuts to see. It was real. I just didn't expect that to be in there, so it was kind of quite a touch with reality.
I just followed you back on YouTube from our Bendy channel, and I don't think I was following you or so I saw all of your
Peru videos.
Your Peru videos.
Have you not seen them before?
Well, I have because you were posting them. You were sending them, but like the titles of them are so funny.
Oh yeah,
they're so funny. You're just so funny.
Thank you.
So okay, comedy movie that you were like, oh, this is what funny movies are.
I mean, I loved I think I might have mentioned this before in our Christmas episode, but Scrooged, I remember going to see Scrooged as a kid and loving it. It just really in recent years I've watched it and the amount of jokes that I didn't get, but I still really liked Bill Murray and I really liked his sort of vibe. So that's the one that I remember seeing in the cinema. I think I was maybe a little bit older then, because I feel like I didn't watch a ton of movies until I was maybe getting into maybe 10, 11, 12, and then I really started getting into them in a major way. But I have such a strong memory seeing Scrooged, which I think is late 80s, so I would have still only been about 10 or so then. I'm loving it, absolutely loving it. It was probably wasn't completely appropriate for my age, but back then it didn't really matter. you know.
Yeah, I also watched a lot of movies that were not age appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
Like my dad would buy VHS tapes and of all sorts of movies, and
Yes.
then be like, "Whatever you do, don't watch Altered States."
Sure, it's a good idea.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'd be like, okay, so he would leave, and then I would watch Altered States and be like, oh, sensory deprivation tank, drugs, eating a goat, running naked. What?
That movie's intense. Like, it really
is. Intense. It is intense.
So
I think I was like 10 or 11 when I watched that for the first time.
Because, and that's the thing, isn't it? Because, like, back then it was like, you would have a selection of VHS tapes, and those were the movies that you watched, so you would end up watching them again and again and again.
Well, we didn't have cable.
Yeah. So this is, what can you do? Yeah, I mean, and for us in the UK, it's like, you only had the 4 channels, so it was just, there's a lot of time there wasn't much of interest on, so instead I remember we had, so this must be later on, getting into the 90s, we had Demolition Man, which I was obsessed with, Sylvester Stallone one. We also had a copy of Falling Down, the Michael Douglas movie.
Oh my god.
It's a great one.
And
I watched it a lot.
I remember watching that in high school, watching it over and over. I haven't seen it in so long. I totally need to watch it.
I rewatched it a few years back, and it was still pretty great.
Does it still hold up?
I think so. It was definitely worth a look. I really enjoyed it. But it was such an interesting thing, because then we probably had other VHSs, I'm sure we did, but those 2 in particular were ones that I probably wore the tape out. Like I watched them so much, and I'm sure I was watching Falling Down. I think it was in 18, and I'm sure I was watching it well before then.
Yeah. I remember watching it in high school for the first time, so like I was 14 or 15 maybe.
Yeah.
So I grew up on a lot of silent films.
Mm-hmm.
So like Buster Keaton,
nice,
Charlie Chaplin movies.
Mm-hmm.
My dad was a history professor and also like a super movie buff, and he was like, well, if you're gonna start watching movies, like you need to start at the beginning, and like so I watched every Buster Keaton movie.
Nice, wow.
Every Charlie Chaplin movie with the music and the and then that translated into watching Singing in the Rain, and like the transition of movies going from silent pictures to talking pictures.
That's
great. And I haven't really watched them recently, but I have fond memories of like sitting there and reading the screen, and
That's, because like I remember, I don't think I really had a great movie education that way. It was just kind of like I do remember like in my teenage years being excited about stuff, like really starting to get into it, and we have, I think it's famous in the US as well, we have like Empire Film Magazine, buying it regularly and having a pretty good idea about what was coming out and what was figuring out what my interests and stuff were. But like I only in recent years, so there's a movie podcast I listen to called Blank Check, and the setup for their show is that they watch all the movies in the career of certain directors, and the sort of idea is that these directors make something big, and they're then given a series of blank checks or a blank check to create whatever they want, and it's like, so it's these weird and wonderful roller coasters in people's careers. Like they did Sam Raimi, which was really interesting.
I love Sam Raimi.
So did I. And it was such a good, it was like there was loads of his stuff that I hadn't really, and it would, like, in theory my plan was always to kind of watch the films as I go, and I sometimes watch some of them, but they did Buster Keaton, and I had never watched a Buster Keaton before, and watched a few of them, and they were so good. I can't remember the one that I really loved. I'm gonna try to remember the name of it, but there was he was like working in this theater, like he was cleaning the theater up, and there's like a dream sequence where he steps into the movie and stuff like that. I'll find out, but it was really wonderful, because I was like, I don't know whether this is going to be like, the language of films back then can make them a bit difficult to watch, because all of our attention spans are decimated.
Yes, completely.
But, like, they were great. They were still so good, and he was so you could, he really drew your eyes to the screen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's interesting too, because you can see like how those early pictures shaped everything else that came after.
Very
You're like,
much
oh, I
so.
recognize that, or oh, that's where that came from. That's where that came from, and like the idea of like not breaking the fourth wall, but like going into something like that, and then you're like, oh, it's like the Wizard of Oz, and
Very much so, and they were like
yeah.
really breaking new ground there as well, which is so
Mm-hmm.
interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think.
And there were actually a lot of silent movies that were filmed. I did a project like seventh grade,
Mm-hmm.
so middle school, about the history of silent movies in the state of Oregon. So I
Nice.
was like going to the Oregon Historical Society and like interviewing, people that had worked on the silent films, and it was interesting. So
Yeah, that's like
I'm a big nerd.
I love it. That's great. I think it's such. Yeah, I think you would love that podcast. By the way, I think you would find it very
Okay.
interesting. And like, what was great about that is they went into like they went
You call it blank check?
blank check. Yeah, like so like with Buster Keaton, they talked about his. Like his personal life around these films and how it shaped various things and why certain projects turned out the way they did. It was very interesting. But yeah, and but like I mean,
So they had a podcast where they do homework and like
yeah. No, hey,
prepare.
they have a researcher, so they don't even have to do the homework.
Okay.
They come in and have a dossier handed
They're
to
like,
them.
all right,
Yeah,
thanks, Doug.
this is what we need. So yeah,
We need a Doug.
we do need a dog. We're interviewing for a researcher.
Let us know, people.
Please.
Please.
The other like, because we started talking about animated movies earlier on. I want before we like could get completely far away from that. I had wanted to touch on two. I have mentioned these before. Two that were really kind of resonant with me. One. Another one that was like kind of so there's the Snowman, the animated thing. No, okay.
Oh yeah, I do.
Right,
It's like is it claymation?
No, it's an animated thing. It's like a very specific style of animation, but it's like mostly as my memory of it is mostly like this sort of choral sort of song, and this snowman taking a boy and they're flying through the sky and stuff like that.
Never seen it.
It was really important in the UK. It was like certainly whenever I was a kid. But I think it was the same creator, either the same animator or the same kind of writer had done this other story called When the Wind Blows. And it's about this like elderly couple who live, and it's like so sweet on the surface. And again, animated, so it must be for kids. And it's about this elderly couple who live in the countryside, and they're having this like nice idyllic life, and then there's a nuclear attack, and it's them. I know.
What the fuck?
Right? Can you imagine what that was like as a kid? I was like, "What is this? This is wild." So it's it's really kind of bittersweet but at the time my brain just did not know what to make of it. It's very interesting. The other one, and the thing that has shaped my life and also affects how I like process animated films from here until forever, was An American Tail. I know we've talked about this in the podcast before.
We have. Mm-hmm.
And I think just because I felt, oh, woe is me, I'm a poor boy who nobody understands. So whenever like Fievel was going, when he was lost, that really resonated with me, and I still remember like singing that song and crying afterwards, because it was just felt so it really felt in touch with where I was at that time, and it's why to this day animated movies will make me cry. The slightest bit of emotion, I'll be a blubbering mess.
I cry. I cry all the time.
Yeah.
Like watching movies with the kids, I'm just like, especially as an adult now, and you really see the deeper meaning and
Yes.
how it, how we see ourselves within the characters, and little Andy.
I know.
Oh, little Andy.
I know. I mean, like, I'm not that dissimilar, but like, a little. But that's so. Yeah, sorry. Just to go back to that. There were other ones that were kind of important to me as a kid, certainly. Anyway, Are there, before we get, because like I want to maybe talk a little bit about, you know, films that were important to us as we got older. I think we've sort of touched on that a bit. But were there any other movies, like as a kid, that were kind of, that resonate with you or like have stayed with you?
Oh, I mean, I'm gonna say Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
Everything.
Sure.
So like E.T.
Close Encounters, yeah, E.T.
Close Encounters was huge.
Yep.
Like what? Like da 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 da. Like
Yeah.
what? Like I couldn't even. And like, I still reference the mashed potatoes.
Oh yes,
Like,
that he built the smokestack mountain.
Yeah,
Yeah.
whatever the name of. I can't remember.
I think it was the Devil's Tower.
something.
I think it's the Devil's Tower. Yeah.
Yeah, so good. Like this is important. This means something. I just want to back up to Sam Raimi.
Sure.
And just talk about his friendship with Bruce Campbell. Have we talked about this before?
No, I don't think so.
So they did Evil Dead and Army of Darkness
Yes.
together, and they're like such good friends
Yes.
that if you watch any Sam Raimi movie, there's always a Bruce Campbell.
Oh yes, I didn't know that. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he appears as, you know, the ringmaster at the wrestling
Yes.
tournament.
And Spider-Man,
Like,
yeah.
He's the ticket taker. Yeah.
He is,
so I'm
yeah.
like, oh,
He won't
Bruce
let Peter
Campbell.
Parker in. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
yeah, because he was in because Sam Raimi did the most recent Doctor Strange movie, and Bruce Campbell was in it as this like a guy who sold like pizza pops and called himself the Pizza Papa. I don't know if you've seen it. It was great.
I did.
He's the
I love
best.
Doctor Strange. So I'm like all over the place.
It's fun.
I will, yeah. So anything Steven Spielberg, like,
Yeah.
just amazing. I will say probably the one that has stuck with me that I just like love is Wayne's World.
Sure, it's a great one.
Yeah, and that kind of started shaping my sense of humor a little bit, and like I'll watch it once a year, and it's still like one of the funniest things I've ever seen, and I quote it all the time.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm that person. Like, sure, monkeys might fly out of my butt.
Sure.
You know, like,
So
the
good,
Murphmobile. I know, right?
I mean, it's even things like the girl he's dating, and she buys him a gun rack as a present.
What am I going to do with a gun rack?
I don't own
know.
a gun,
Oh,
never
God.
mind many guns.
That would necessitate an entire rack.
Exactly. Oh, it's so good.
So, yeah.
It's a cracker. I wonder, did I say a bit later on? I don't know, but I remember adoring that too. Yeah, it's interesting because there's ones that people will point out to me and I'll be like, oh yeah, I really love that, but they just haven't had that staying power in my brain compared to other things, you know? It's funny.
I have one more for you.
Go for it.
Beetlejuice.
Yeah, you know, I didn't see it until a bit later on either, but it's great.
So the kids love it, and it's so... They're making another one.
I've heard this.
And I'm so excited. And I don't know they made it into a musical, but like the original is just so weird and good, and like what a concept, and like how did he come up? Who came up with that idea? And
It's true.
you know, sandworms, and then I always go back to Dune, right?
True.
And then we go to Tremors because sandworms, right?
Yes, it's true. The classic monster.
It's right. But I would say those are probably the ones that are like, I still have the DVDs. Like I went from VHS and then like bought them on DVDs, and like when the power goes out or like the internet's slow, then I'm like, do you guys want to watch Wayne's World or Beetlejuice? And the kids don't quite get Wayne's World. And it's like sucking on a jelly donut with a straw. Sorry. So
Love
gross. Stan Mikita's Donuts, and the guy's up 24 hours a day who's like the donut guy, and he's from Married with Children. Anyways.
I
could go on about Wayne's World. I think like that I could just talk about it. I could just speak you the whole movie, and I'm not going to do that.
It is but it is a you know, it's an all time classic. I think it's that way for, you know, you're just right to love that film because it's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's as I don't know why. I think at the beginning of my sort of like love for superheroes as well. I don't know why this occurred to me as you were talking. It was like the Tim Burton Batman.
Oh yeah, that's the best one.
Loved it. And
So good.
Batman Returns, both of them were just like this is exactly my shit, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. And like not at that point, Michael Keaton had only really been doing like comedy movies, like Night Shift and which if you haven't seen it's super fun, you should. Yeah. Yeah. And to pick him for Batman, it was like not a choice that like anyone expected, but like to me he's the Batman.
But like
he is Batman.
Like, I mean, then you've got, like, Robert Pattinson doing it, like, in recent years. Nobody, like, 10 years ago, everybody been like, what? Robert Pattinson doing it? And he was great. He did a great job, like, you know, he really did.
Yeah. All that black eye makeup.
Oh, it's so emo. I mean, that's exactly what Batman should be. And I remember seeing how angry it made some people, like, Batman wouldn't wear dark-eyed makeup. And he's like, of course he would. That's part of the costume. He always does.
He's wearing a costume.
Yeah. It's so funny. But yeah, it was another cracker. The other thing I wanted to ask was, because like I suppose, you know, certainly as I got older and I got more aware of movies and, say, my taste, and I was reading magazines and things like that, I was then like anticipating films, and I was also then starting to like be annoyed that I couldn't see certain films because of the age rating. So I guess my question is, was there things that you were excited for as a teenager that you didn't get to see, or were there things that you maybe sneaked into that you maybe shouldn't have gone to see?
It's embarrassing to say, but yes, I snuck in to Interview with a Vampire.
Ooh, that's a good movie.
I mean, is it though?
I recall enjoying it. I don't know whether it holds up, but I recall enjoying it.
Yeah, and I was like, it was the first time I was allowed to go to the movie theater with boys.
Ooh.
Sorry, the dog is barking in the background.
That's right.
And so like, I was too embarrassed to like go to the bathroom because I was like 17 or 16. I was sheltered. I was just a sheltered teen, but so I held it, and like then I had to get a ride home, right? And it was like they dropped off everybody else before me.
Oh no! So you needed to pee the whole time?
Like, they had to pee so
wow.
fucking bad. That's what I remember is like Interview with a Vampire, having to pee so bad. And like, yeah, we did. We totally snuck in, and like we were like convinced that. So we sat in the front row. We were convinced that they were gonna like come and like try and check our IDs and like kick us out. And, like no one cared. No one cared.
Yeah, this is the thing.
At all.
They just couldn't give a shit. And I mean, like,
they couldn't give a shit.
Pretty quickly, when I was about 16 or so, I figured out the places that didn't really care, and I could get into see 18 films. So, so like, for me, the ones that I was really excited for, and I got in to see them all, and really kind of were formative for me in terms of like my taste in movies and stuff, was Pulp Fiction. That was a big deal because I think I was 16 when it came out. I got in to see that. Seven. Which
I remember watching that at a friend's house on Laserdisc.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good old Laserdiscs. Hard to pay. It was another really intense one, but I remember it really staying with me.
I still watch that once a year.
Oh, really? I haven't seen it for a long time.
It totally holds up.
I believe it.
Yeah, if you want to go somewhere dark, watch that movie again because it's really good.
That podcast really I was talking about just did David Fincher as well, so it's a good excuse for me to. Anyway, so the other one was Trainspotting, which really kind of was just such a sort of powerful movie at that age. Because, you know, although it was about drugs, it was also about, you know, being a teenager and figuring out what life was as an adult, you know, so it really stayed with me.
Shitting in your girlfriend's bed and then having...
That scene's so gross and amazing at the
so
same time.
Bad. It's so bad. It's so good. I'll say another one that I wasn't... My dad was like, don't watch this. Okay, I'm leaving now. And he held on to this one for probably till I was in high school, but was A Clockwork Orange.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That'll fuck a kid up.
So, did you know... Okay, so this is actually... It opens up a whole interesting subject, which I should talk about. I can only talk about it because I haven't researched this, but there was for a long time...
Come on, Doug.
There was certain films in... the UK that were deemed as video nasties and were not allowed to be shown anywhere, like
at all.
And Clockwork Orange was one of those films. So, and like, so was, I think, the first Evil Dead and things like that. So, like, basically, I don't think you could watch Clockwork Orange in the UK until the mid-90s, I think, something
Wow.
like that. At least legally, anyway. So it was such a sort of, wow, what is this thing? Holy shit. As was Evil Dead, I remember. But, like, then you kind of see Clockwork Orange and you're like, oh, okay. Because, like, it's coming off the back of so much hype and so much. And, like, don't get me wrong, that's an extreme movie and it's got a lot of, like, sort of weird kind of nasty shit in there. But, like, I think once you'd seen things like, Seven and stuff like that, and other stuff, that it was like you were kind of a bit more desensitized to it.
You were like, why?
Yeah, and because it was like in the 70s, what was subversive then, it kind of becomes less subversive, so it just didn't seem quite as much of a sort of hammer blow as I was expecting. I was really kind of excited to see this really kind of crazy movie, and it was just a wee bit disappointing.
Yeah. I haven't watched it. It's probably been 20 years. Just I probably watched it like 5 times, and I was like, okay, like I get it. I think it was a book before it was a movie. I'm not actually sure.
I think you're right. Yeah.
And Kubrick is just...
He's the master.
Of weird, like, uncomfortable...
Straight.
things. And, like, yeah. The Shining and all. I haven't seen Eyes Wide Shut, and I need to...
neither have I, and I keep meaning to.
Okay.
Yeah,
Maybe that will be a mini-sode.
We can do a mini-sode on that, yeah. I only recently watched Barry Lyndon.
Oh, yeah.
That's
a good one.
That's such a, like, as I was like watching it, and I really...
That was like a 2 VHS.
It was, because it was like 3 hours long, and I went in knowing very little about it, and then it was like 10-15 minutes in, I was like, oh, this is set in Ireland, or at least, and I was like, oh, that's an Irish accent that, what's he called? The main guy, Ryan O'Neill, is trying to do an Irish accent.
Yeah.
I was like, interesting. But it was great. It was great fun. It really was. It was really kind of daft and kind of very entertaining. So I was glad to finally get around to watching it. But there's a few other Kubrick ones I have not got around to, and I really kind of, they're on my list. Once I've watched all the Harry Potters again, of course, in preparation for my trip.
You do all of them.
All of them.
And they split the Deathly Hallows into 2.
It's not work for a week and just watch Harry Potter movies.
You're gonna love it. It's really cool. Buy a wand, do the spell.
Oh yeah, I'll have a blast, and I'll fully engage with all the kind of nonsense.
I do.
The other one that I didn't mention was Clerks. Was really important for me.
You're like hitting. I'm like, I forgot about that.
Yep.
These are like, all of these were as equally as influential. Like Clerks, Mallrats, like Kevin Smith, anything Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen him? Any of his like live performance recordings?
Yeah, he's so good. They are fucking incredible. Like, I think it's some of his best stuff. I remember like being like, I think I have went off the boil with him in recent years. He's fine. I don't have a problem with him, but a lot of his like recent movie projects and stuff, I'm just like, meh. But I remember like everything he touched, I was so enamored with back then.
Yeah. So like, I loved Clerks. I like quote like everything about it.
Yeah.
Jay and Silent Bob, like, I still, what's Jay's real name?
Oh shit. I know.
Jason Mewes.
Yes, you're right. Mm-hmm.
I follow him, and like, he's a dad now, and he's got
Good.
2 kids, but he's still like they call each other, they're like hetero life partners.
Nice.
Like they're still.
That's good, because I know that I remember, like, because let's say when I was really into them, like, he struggled for a long time, and Kevin Smith was like helping him out.
Like that was he's sober now, but I know that was like a whole
saga
thing
in his life. Yeah.
But
it was.
But yeah, Kevin was like always there for him, and was just like, dude, come live with me. Like, sort your shit, get you in rehab. Let's make another movie.
Yeah, good man.
Give you something to do.
Yep.
I wonder how many of Kevin Smith's movies were just like giving Jason Mewes something to do so that he would do drugs.
Oh, why not? Like, that's a good reason to. If you have the resources to do that for your friend, why not?
Right.
But yeah, that was
You're
huge.
hitting some You're hitting some good ones.
Yeah, that was a huge one for me, and I remember buying the VHS for that and like having to like import it because it wasn't like super available in the UK, and it just watching that again as well. Loved it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I just have to drop one that I still love so much. Terminator 2.
Ah, an incredible movie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like,
I love that too.
I watch it probably once or twice a year still because I just love it so much. And like anytime we're in LA, I'm always like, oh, like that's where they that's where they filmed Rebel Without a Cause, right?
Mm-hmm.
With James Dean, where they're like, there's the race scene. They filmed Grease there. They also, but like they call it the San Diego River, where they do like all the car racing. But it's just like driving a semi down there and just like. It's so good.
It was so cool.
So good. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that movie too.
And it's like one of the few times where the second one is so much better than the first.
Yes, I definitely agree. I think the first one's a great movie too, but like the second one just incredible, and it was the one that really grabbed me, and I was like, whoa, who is this guy? And then of course Aliens and stuff as well, and like he just was like smashing out of the park, like every movie he made for a while. James Cameron, this is, by the way, in case anybody's wondering. You know who James Cameron is. He made Aliens.
He made Aliens.
Yep.
Okay, so Aliens, not Alien, is on my list also.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, it's a good movie. It really is. And like, I watched it again recently, and it also holds up, but it's a very different movie than Aliens.
Alien.
Wait, which one did you say you haven't seen?
I said I've seen them all.
You've seen them all.
Like Mike is obsessed. We still have one of his. Like, you remember door hangers?
Yes.
And like, you would be like, you can come in or you can't come in. So he still has his from what middle school or whatever. That's like an alien's like it's got like the Geiger. Alien, and it's like don't come in, like alien at home or whatever. And we still have it, and it's like still on the wall. And he's like, I will never get rid of it. Like Aliens, because I was like, what movie shaped you? And he was like, Aliens. And I was like, not Alien? He's like, Aliens. And I was like, well, the one with Newt or without? And he's like, the one with. And he was like, it's more of like an action movie.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah.
So good.
I know.
So good.
I know.
But yeah. So I think, I mean, do you have any others you want to talk about, or is there anything else that springs to mind before we start wrapping things up?
Like the obvious thing, ones like Star Wars, and but I think the ones that you talked about that really hit me, like Trainspotting, man.
Yeah.
I need to watch, like, where I'm like, oh, I need to watch that again.
Yeah.
And, like the baby crawling on the ceiling.
There's, I know and I thought that, did you see?
But I still the soundtrack. Like, it's
incredible. Like that Underworld,
like
Born Slippy, it was
Born
just
Slippy.
enormous. Yeah. Back in the UK around that time, it was everywhere,
Yeah.
But yeah.
Around the same time as like Orbital.
Yep. So good.
So good.
So good.
Yeah, I think those are like the things that I could think of that really like
are sort of
made an impact, and that like as an adult, like I'll still think of or like want to watch or be like, my children should never see this.
Yes.
Because it fucked me up.
Absolutely. Cautionary tale.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's good. What movie?
So yeah, listeners, if you have other ones that you want to add, I would be curious to know what movies made an impact on you, and also like it's interesting that your country actually like barred.
Yeah.
I remember, was it Two Live Crew CD? It was like
parental advisory.
That was when they created explicit lyrics label. Like,
interesting.
And like that was a huge thing. Like you weren't allowed to get the Two Live Crew CD. So, anyways, I'm blabbing.
That's good. So
do you want to talk about joy?
We're getting to that stage of the podcast where we ask our favorite question. What's been bringing you joy this week, Beth?
Okay, so I'm gonna show you up no matter what you got. So I told you, like, I've got this gratitude jar that I fill, and I'm like, pulling the things out now so I can refill it. And as I'm pulling out, like, if I pull something out and it's like, I'm grateful for this person, I've been sending them like a message just being like, I think you're pretty great.
That's a nice idea.
That's all. Yeah. So I pulled you and our Portugal friends from yoga this morning, and it was like, I'm grateful for my friends that took this trip with me, and then I pulled you specifically, like just like from that trip and like how much fun we had. So I just want to say that you bring me joy.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's lovely.
Stop crying.
I'm trying. I know. I'm like, oh no. Beth, what's happening now is that I'm scrambling. I'm like, oh shit. What? How do I top this? Like, what do I? How do I do my joy?
It's true though. It's true.
I know.
It's
I know.
true.
And you know the feeling's mutual. And like, I feel like if I was to say that my joy is you, that's, you know, a cop out. So I'll just go with the dumb thing that I was going to say.
What are you watching?
Exactly, which is so like I have always been a big fan of like, you know, the Band of Brothers and the Pacific and things like that. Like, I'm not always super into war dramas and stuff like that. So like Band of Brothers was like a Spielberg produced show around the same time as Saving Private Ryan came out, so what, about 20 years ago.
Okay. And
it was about the kind of an American group of soldiers and their war in their part in World War II, essentially. I kind of followed this one sort of group. There was then the Pacific was about a group of Marines, like different groups of Marines. It was kind of a bit more disparate. And their kind of lives in the Pacific, you know, the fight against the Japanese. And there's a third show has just started last week, called Masters of the Air. It's about the Air Force, and it's about this sort of...
Is that the one with Elvis?
Yes,
guy that played
Austin
Elvis?
Butler in it.
Okay.
And he's still...
Is this on Apple TV?
It is on Apple TV, yeah.
Okay. It's on my list.
It's immediately so great. I really kind of love those things, because I think what's good about them is that they don't really glorify war at all. They kind of like show it warts and all and how brutal it is. And like the Pacific in particular was very much about, you know, the psychological impact of it and, you know, how it affects certain people, you know, but it's great stuff. I'm really happy to have more of that content, because it's something like Band of Brothers in particular I kind of go back to a lot. I just find the kind of brotherhood in those sort of situations kind of quite nice thing to spend a time in, like perversely, even though it is kind of quite damning about all of these things, like, you know, war in general. Like, I find it to be quite that connection to be quite like a nice experience to watch around Christmas, for, you know. So it's the perfect time for it, just come into the new year. So yeah, Masters of the Air. It was
okay. I'm gonna watch it. It's I saw it. It was like I wanted to watch it, and it was like, it's coming out in 2 days, and then I get annoyed, so I'm like, just release the damn thing. It's also, like I did with our episode today.
Exactly.
Where I was like, oh, oops.
Oops. Yeah, if you're getting it early. You may want to wait a bit longer, because they're going to release an episode a week. So.
Okay. Yeah, I hate that too. Just release it all at once so I can binge and like
for
not
streaming,
shower.
I mean, like, exactly. For streaming services, I do get it, but like I want it all now.
Yeah, I don't. That's, you know.
It's fine.
That's the culture now, right?
Exactly. It's
true. Do you remember waiting for Netflix videos to like show up in the mail?
Yes. The good old days.
I know, right.
But yes. So I think that's us ready to wrap up for today, folks.
Sir.
So as always, we would like to remind you to stay bendy.
How could you go higher than me? I hate you.
This is what incredible range I have, everybody.
Right.
We love you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening to Bendy, a Beth and Andy podcast. We love having you here with us each week, so keep those ideas and feedback coming. If you haven't already, please follow and subscribe to Bendy on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon, and YouTube. We also have some awesome merchandise you can purchase on our website, so snatch up your very own Halloween turnip t-shirt at bendypodcast.com. You can listen to all of our episodes, access our YouTube videos, and subscribe to our Patreon page at bendypodcast.com. Next week, we talk about weddings, how they are different in each of our countries, and the fun and annoying things about weddings, and if they're worth it at all. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us to stay up to date, and thanks for being here with us. You always have a friend with Bendy.